Greetings, and good afternoon, Juneteenth family. Welcome to another weekly edition of our Lunch and Learn.
E is exhaling, having an opportunity to breathe, to rest, to refill yourself and rejuvenate yourself, because no one can pour from an empty cup.
As you evolve and become more of yourself, you begin to attract the people that are there for you.
Amen.
So everything you need is in the space.
You have to learn from your mistakes. Once you make a mistake, sit down, recoup, and then start over. And once you do that, you say, I got that.
See, Juneteenth means to me, I would definitely say empowerment and education.
When I experience it, it's like just coming together and, being a part of something bigger than myself, And
A new start, starting a new chapter, opportunity, new beginnings, all of that good
stuff. Greetings, everyone. I am Tori Luke, and I'll be filling in for today for Jamie for our Lunch and Learn session for Juneteenth NY. I'm excited for the speaker that we have for today. I've known this individual for almost 5 years now, and I've worked with her. She is a dynamic entrepreneur, amazing friend, and just a strong warrior when it comes to helping entrepreneurs build their business in the creative space. And so today's speaker is Kimberly Fennell. She is the owner of Biz Savvy Artists, as well as another business called Entertainment Business Support, where she helps artists and those in the creative space with support with their business and helping to launch their business. So without further ado, I want to bring to the stage Kimberly Fennell. Kim, how are you?
Hey, sis, how are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. You look amazing. How have you been?
Thank you. So do you. I'm doing amazing. I'm so glad to be here. Excited to be part of the presentation today.
Yes, and this is a return for you.
It is. Always glad to jump on a Lunch and Learn.
Yes. So tell us about who you are, where you're from, and your experience and what you do in the industry.
Absolutely. So as Tori mentioned, my name is Kimberly Fennell. I am the founder of Entertainment Business Support and Biz Savvy Artists. Entertainment Business Support is a certified minority-owned, women-owned virtual administrative support company providing assistance to entrepreneurs, small business owners, and creatives who are looking to find more time for innovation, expansion, and family. And then Biz Savvy Artists is providing entrepreneurship development for creative entrepreneurs in music, film, literary, visual, and performing arts. I'm a native of New York, of Rockland County, which is a little bit north of New York City. I also lived in the Atlanta area for about 15 years, so I kind of consider myself an apple peach blend. I have a little bit of both mixed in. But my background is in mass media arts. My degree is in mass media arts with a concentration in radio production from Clark Atlanta University. And after graduating, I worked with a lot of entertainment companies, independent, I should say, entertainment companies, film festivals, music conferences, and things like that. And so that's kind of where I developed my experience in the industry. And here I am, almost 20 years later, continuing to support the arts, continuing to support entertainment companies, and working with creatives.
Amazing. So if you can share, what made you decide to pivot and become an entrepreneur? What did you see in the marketplace that you could serve the entrepreneurs?
It's, I think there was a part of me that always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Growing up, I always kind of had this feeling that I didn't want the corporate 9 to 5 type of career that my parents had. It kind of just seemed very, for lack of a better word, stifling. I didn't want to do the suit and tie. I didn't want to go sit in a corporate office. Like that was never of interest to me. I always kind of saw myself being self-employed, working from home, being able to be there when my kids got home from school. And I think the way things happened for me, I kind of fell into it. I was working at the time 2 different jobs, one at a record pool in Atlanta and one at an independent retailer. And 9/11 happened, which I guess it's ironic that we're happening right after we just did the remembrance of 9/11. And I ended up losing both jobs at the same time. And I was having a huge amount of difficulty finding another job. And when I would go for interviews, they would be like, yeah, we like you. We would want to bring you on. But there was also, because I was going through a temp agency, they didn't want to pay all the extra fees that come along with hiring somebody through a temp agency. So they would be like, oh, we're going to go with this person that our employee recommended, or we're going to promote this employee that's already within our company rather than hiring externally. And so after several months of kind of going through that back and forth, I kind of decided to just see if I could make something work on my own. And I started putting feelers out. I was reading Entrepreneur magazine, and all the way in the back, they have all of these how-to guides of how to start different types of businesses. And one of them was how to start a business support company. And when I read through the description, I was like, these are all the things that I was doing when I was working for these 2 entertainment companies. Why can't I do these for other organizations that are in the entertainment field so that I could still be connected to my passion of the arts? And so I started reaching out to all of the contacts that I had in the industry, and the rest is history. I've kind of been doing everything since then.
Amazing. And so you allowed your passion to drive you and your persistence to drive you into where you are today, which is so amazing and inspiring. So I take it you have a presentation for us today. Can you share a little bit about what you're going to discuss with us today?
I do. I put together a presentation on being a creative entrepreneur, just kind of walking through the landscape of the industry and kind of showing how a lot of the people that work in the industry are not your traditional 9 to 5 employees, but most of them are freelancers and therefore entrepreneurs. And I want to kind of dispel that myth about the arts just being a hobby, and that it's actually a business and a viable business. And I guess I want to get adults and parents away from steering, or I want to encourage them, I should say, discourage them from steering their children away from artistic careers, because there's the most creative fields are generating millions and billions of dollars, and why can't they be a part of that and get some of that money that's going through that industry? So that is kind of the overview of the presentation. And then we'll also touch on the event that I do through Biz Savvy Artists called Biz Savvy Artist Academy. We just actually finished it in August of this year. So the next one will be August of 2024. So we'll be excited for that. And I will share how, if anybody's interested in participating in that, how they can get in touch with me, and we can make sure that we add them to the list so that when registration open up, we can get you on and get you ready to go.
All right. Well, I won't hold you. I will let you take the stage front and center and do what you do best.
Awesome. Thank you so much. There we go. Okay, so the presentation, as we mentioned, is mass media from mass media to entrepreneurship. I'm sorry, this thing is going. There we go. And so just to give you a little background again, I mentioned I worked with several different companies. Let me backtrack, my thing skipped a slide. So again, to give you a little bit more about me, as I mentioned before, I'm an apple peach blend. I grew up, born and raised in New York until I was 17. I lived in Georgia for about 15 years after graduating from college. I am a mompreneur. I have 2 amazing children and also am an entrepreneur. I am a graduate of the illustrious Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta, Georgia, part of the Atlanta University Center. I am an administrative professional and an arts lover, which is what birthed my 2 companies, Entertainment Business Support and Biz Savvy Artist. I've worked with several different organizations in and around the industry, including NABFEM, which is an acronym for the National Association of Black Female Executives in Music and Entertainment, the Atlanta Hip Hop Film Festival, the BET Hip Hop Awards, the Soul Train Music Awards, and the International Soul Music Summit. And to talk about arts, entertainment, and entrepreneurship, the first thing that I want to reiterate is that for creatives, for artists, that you are a businessman or a woman, depending on which is applicable. So as I was saying earlier in the introduction of the presentation, there are numerous individuals that are working in the entertainment and art space. And the arts and entertainment industry is unique to a lot of other industries in that the majority of the employees that are working in that space are freelancers. They're independent consultants. They are graphic designers. They're lighting techs. They're best boys, directors, producers. They're songwriters that are often working on a one-off basis rather than being a 9-to-5 W-2 employee. And so in doing some research, I think this was in maybe 2020 or so, the number of freelancers in the United States was 57 million. The number of skilled freelancers in the state of Georgia, which is where we often host the Biz Savvy Artist Academy event, is 164,000. And then, as I mentioned, the creative fields employ the highest percentage of freelancers, where the 75% of the industry are freelancers. And then the next largest group is entertainment, where 55% of the workers are freelancers. And so when you look at those industries and the economic impact of those industries, the digital and entertainment industry in Georgia alone produced $550 million in revenue. The film industry was $7.6 billion in revenue. Music was $3.6 billion. Arts and culture, $2.2 billion, totaling $62.5 billion that is being generated in digital entertainment, film, music, and arts and culture. And so the second thing that I wanted to reiterate is that as you're getting into the industry, although a lot of people do kind of fall into it, it's one of those things where it is advantageous if you have a plan, since we already established that it is a business, that it, just like any other business, you want to have a game plan going into it, just like you would with any other business. And so I found a quote from P. Diddy, I think it was from one of the Revolt conferences, where he said, "What's your game plan? If you leave with anything, leave with the understanding that you have to come up with a game plan. You have to come up with a successful game plan, and the accountability is on you. It's not on anybody else. Put in that work and keep pursuing your dream endlessly." And so this reiterates that, you know, as you are pursuing whatever your passion is, whatever your creative endeavors are, you don't just want to kind of flail around and throw spaghetti and see if it sticks. You want to be strategic about what you want to do. You want to be thinking about who are the connections that you need to have, who do you need to meet, you know, How much money do you need to fulfill whatever it is that you're trying to do, and begin to strategize what that's going to look like and how you can accomplish whatever that vision is that you have. You're going to increase the likelihood of you being successful by having a plan than trying to flail around and see what works. The second quote I found is by a member of Pentatonics. He's a cellist and multi-talented artist, producer, songwriter. He also plays the saxophone, I believe, and sings. And his quote was, "In today's industry, you have to be more than just an excellent musician. You have to be an entrepreneur, a business person, a social media personality, etc. You have so many hats to wear that sometimes it's hard just keeping up with your craft. That's why time management is such an essential part of being a successful musician." And so this quote just kind of goes back to reiterating that this is a business, and that there are multiple things that you are responsible for as a business owner running a business and operating as the business. And when you're a musician, when you are an artist, whatever your craft is, you are still responsible for all of those things. You still have to do marketing, you still have to do accounting, or you have to be in a position to hire someone to do those things for you. And so the third part of this is the importance of surrounding yourself with people who get it. Being an artist can be challenging. Being an entrepreneur is extremely challenging, but it makes it so much more helpful when you have a community of people that's in that thing with you, that can relate to what you're going through, can understand some of the challenges that you're going through, and having somebody that you can bounce ideas off of, ask questions of, get feedback from, rather than trying to navigate this thing by yourself. It's always helpful to have a community. And so another quote I found is, surround yourself with people who get it, who get who you are and what you do and why you do what you do. And that will make the journey feel like lighter, like less of a struggle. And so one of the places where you can find that community is the event that I do called Biz Savvy Artist Academy. We pride ourselves in creating a community of like-minded creatives who are also working to understand the business side of the craft. We highlight education. We do a series of workshops on all of the aspects of running a successful business. We talk about everything from marketing and finances and building and managing your team to negotiating contracts and agreements, understanding intellectual property, and so much, much more. We also make networking an integral part of our event. One of the things that we do take pride in is the intimacy of the event and being able to interact with the other attendees, as well as the speakers and presenters that are sharing during the event, who are also successful creatives and entrepreneurs in their own right. To give you a little bit of background, Biz Savvy Artist has been around since 2014. That is when we held our first Biz Savvy Artist Academy. And we focus on delivering specialized training for artists and creatives who are also entrepreneurs. We host the event at a local business development venue called the Russell Innovation Center for Entrepreneurs. They, like us, are focused on building and developing and encouraging particularly Black entrepreneurs. For them, us, we're focusing on creative entrepreneurs. Our next event will be next August on the 17th, 2024 at the Russell Innovation Center in Atlanta. And so if anybody is particularly interested in participating in an event like this, we would love to have you be a part of it. The three main components of Biz Savvy Artist Academy include our workshops and keynote presentations, our networking, and then we have an experiential marketplace where we have creatives and individuals with tools and resources that can help creatives in their business, showcasing and highlighting their products and services. And we're also incorporating some performances and things like that as well into that space. So we want to make it something that is appealing not just to the attendees of the event, but also to the local surrounding community. And this is an example of some of the previous instructors that we've had as participants in our events. We've had entertainment attorneys. We've had Meredith Reagans, who is the executive director of the Georgia Lawyers for the Arts. We've had Alakisha O'Kelly, Esquire. We've had Shiaki Jones, who was over the Creative Industries Loan Fund at Invest Atlanta. We've had Joshua Harris, who was the Executive VP of Entertainment Banking at City National Bank. We've had Martin Guerrero, who works with Square. We've had Shay Taylor, who is VP at JP Morgan Chase. We've had celebrity publicist Candace Ledbetter. We've had co-host of the Willie Moore Jr. Show, Cherie Nicole. And we've had David Banner as one of our keynote presenters. And so we've had a plethora of amazing speakers sharing their wisdom, sharing their experiences, and talking one-on-one with a lot of the attendees of our event. A couple of testimonials that we received were from Angela Durden and Cherry Garden. Angela says, there was no BS on this panel. You did a fine job of attracting people who could speak intelligently and clearly on their subject area. I was honored to be a part of it, and I believe you covered the full scope of what topics creatives need to think about in business. From Cherry, she says, boy, was it a great decision to attend Biz Savvy Artist Academy. I learned a lot about copyright trademark law from Matthew Goings of Goings Legal. He's also the operating officer of Georgia Lawyers for the Arts. And she said, the accounting workshop by Levita Lewis hit home for me. She had so much poignant advice that I couldn't stop taking notes. I also love the graphic recording sketched by Ross Boone. Much props to Kim Fennell for orchestrating this phenomenal afternoon. And so we would love for you to join the experience. If you would like to get notification when we open registration for next year's event, you are welcome to DM us on any of social media platforms or on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Biz Savvy Artist on all of the platforms. Just shoot us a message. We will make sure to add you to our email list so that as soon as registration opens, you will be the first to be notified. And that concludes my presentation.
All right. I love it. I love it. So you overviewed a lot in such a short amount of time. Tell everyone how they can connect with you to if they have any further questions.
Absolutely. The best way to connect with me is via DM on social media or via email. Email address is info@bizsavvyartist.com. Or if you're following us on social media at Biz Savvy Artist, you can just shoot a DM and I will get back to you.
Awesome. So I've had the pleasure to work with you, Kim, for the last 5 years with Biz Savvy Artist. So my role in Biz Savvy Artist is the digital marketing and graphic design. And so I must say, if you haven't learned or if you haven't heard about Biz Savvy Artist, get into it. It is an amazing experience. And like she mentioned, it's so intimate. So if you're ever wondering why when you go to big events, you aren't able to access the speakers or you feel like you didn't get any questions in that you wanted, Biz Savvy Artist is the opposite, where we create a intimate space for creatives to be able to have access to the leadership and access to the speakers and experts to ask further questions and to also schedule some time to work with them on a one-on-one basis. And so with that being said, Kim, share with us what's been the most rewarding moments that you've had with Biz Savvy Artists and also with you as an entrepreneur.
So for me, I think for Biz Savvy Artists is just seeing the event come together every year and getting the feedback from attendees. A lot of times they're not necessarily giving me formal testimonials, but people will stop me in the hallway and tell me what a great experience they're having or how much they're learning, and they'll thank me for doing the event for them. It's also been very rewarding for artists to share with me after the event that they followed up with a speaker, and as a result, they accomplished this thing. So, for example, we did have an attendee who was a student that participated in the event, I want to say in 2019, and spoke with one of the panelists in our branding panel. And afterwards, he was able to release his single. We also had an attendee who the first year was participating. They actually were also speaking during that event, but they ended up staying and listening to the rest of the speakers who are participating. And after Biz Savvy Artist Academy, they hired the person who did our finance workshop, who is an entertainment accountant, to be their accountant for their business post-event. And so kind of finding out that these, the business that's happening after the event is over, or the connections that are being made, is fulfilling for me. And it gives me the fuel to keep going year after year. I would say for business in general, it's seeing the people that I am in business to support win, seeing my clients and seeing the artists that I'm working with accomplishing their goals and becoming successful and achieving whatever it is that they've told me when we initially meet that they are aiming to accomplish. So kind of being a part of seeing them at the beginning stages aiming for this goal, and then being on the front lines of seeing them actually make it happen and seeing it come to fruition for them. Like, that's a huge thing for me. I love seeing my people win and being a part of helping them make that happen.
Awesome. And I'm glad to be a part of the journey. I'm definitely honored. And so with that, I want to understand, like, walk us through, because you are a multifaceted entrepreneur. You are a Jane of all trades. So can you share with us some of the services that you offer under your business, and so that others can identify areas that you can support them?
Excuse me. Absolutely. So like you are a Jane of all trades. Let me say, first of all, you do all the things, and I'm always finding out more skills and things that you have. So I'm just trying to be like you, Tori. But for entertainment business support, which is our, I guess, the parent company, you could say, we've morphed over the years and had to develop new skills based on the needs of our clients. And so we started out doing general clerical work, so helping with scheduling appointments and creating documents and doing data entry and internet research and things of that nature. And then as things have shifted over the years, it's gone more into providing more technical support services. So doing things like email newsletters and building out landing pages and creating online courses have been like added to the plethora of services that we've done. And then we're also do a lot in terms of consulting our clients and figuring out what are the things that they are doing manually in their business that can be automated, that we can take off of their plates to give them more time in their day. And so we look at ways to create workflows and automating processes, and how do we connect these tools so that they can talk to each other, so that these things can do this task for you. So that's not something that you have to do manually anymore. And so we are shifting more to the consulting and automating side. We still do have a handful of clients where we're doing some of the clerical and email and customer support types of things, but we're also shifting more towards the more technical part and trying to find opportunities to automate and pre-schedule things and those types of tasks. So that's the majority of what entertainment business support does.
Awesome. And you're doing social media as well.
Yeah, so we, for the social media, most of it is like scheduling. We encourage our clients to give us some stuff to work with in terms of the content, and then we help them with creating the images and the graphics and kind of pulling from some things. Like we're definitely proponents of repurposing content. So if we can find blog posts or articles or something that they've written that we can pull from to craft the captions or to pull as quotables and post on social media, we're definitely helping with doing that. But our focus is more so on the kind of pre-scheduling, so things are going out consistently versus trying to have to be like, oh, Monday I have to come up with a post and create this graphic and then post it. And so our focus is on kind of coming up with that content calendar and saying, okay, next week, these are the things that we're going to post about. This is what the images are going to be. These are what the captions are going to be, and kind of having that pre-scheduled for them so that that's not something that they have to be focused on and thinking about.
Got it. So you are a seasoned entrepreneur. You've been an entrepreneur for well over 20 years, right?
So this year is our 20th year.
Oh, congratulations. I didn't know that. So that's a surprise for me too.
Yeah, December will be 20 years.
Amazing. And kudos to you for sustaining over, 2 decades. A lot of people speak to being able to handle entrepreneurship because it's definitely a beast in different lanes and more so survival than sustaining. And I'm so grateful to hear that you have sustained over the course of 2 decades. So my question is concerning other entrepreneurs and small business owners who are struggling with balancing their creative passions with the demands of running a successful business. Share with us how you've been able to sustain over the last 2 decades, and be able to continue to operate your business through the peaks and valleys.
To be honest, it's one of those things where when you're in it, you're not really kind of paying attention to the nuances of it. You're just trying to get through the day. And so I think every day for me, it's trying to do when you're like trying to eat the elephant and you take one bite at a time. Today, I'm focused on this one bite. I just need to get this one thing done, get this one thing accomplished, and then I can move on to the next thing. And so I think it's looking for what's that one step that you can do that's going to get me to the next one. Like, what's this one task that I can do that's going to get me to the next thing? I think consistency is important. I think persistence is important. In business, you're going to hear no all day, every day. And I think being able to not let that discourage you, and looking for the opportunities. Maybe there's something you need to adjust or tweak to get a yes. Maybe it's, this particular thing is a no, but if you tweak it and do this other thing, maybe that's more along the lines of what they are willing to invest in. And then I think it's also kind of taking the time to figure out what are the things that people need, what are the services or products that people will get a benefit from and are willing to invest in, and putting your focus in those areas. And so I think for me, when I was starting out and I was just doing clerical work, a lot of the kickback that I would get was, oh, I can hire an intern to do what you're saying you do for free. So why should I pay you $20 an hour when I can hire this intern from this college and they could do the same thing for free? Okay, so let's up my skills and add some other things that I could do that you see more value in, that you're willing to pay for, rather than offering you this thing that you don't really value. And so, or it's also looking at the audience. Maybe that's not the right people I need to be selling to. Maybe I need to go over here and sell to this other audience that does value what I do. So I think there are so many different layers and levels of things when it comes to business. It's not just to do this one thing and that's what's going to work. But I do think you, like I mentioned in the presentation, kind of having a strategy, have a starting point of where you want to go, what you want to accomplish, who you want to target, and then kind of work it, see what's working, see what's not, make adjustments, and then go back out and try again the next day. And so for me, again, it's just kind of taking that one day at a time. Okay, today I'm going after this audience. I'm going to reach out to these 5 people. I'm going to see how they respond to this one service. And if they like it, cool. If they don't, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. And that's kind of been the gist of my entrepreneurial journey.
And to be honest, it's their loss if they're not connected to you or if they don't work with you, because you are like the plug. And
you,
to be honest, you're very modest. And that's what I love about you, because literally you are connected to so many heavy hitters in the industry that nobody would ever know, because you're not, name dropping or saying who you're connected to. And I honestly think it's a skill that is something that's the foundational skill people need to know, is just how to connect with others and how to network. So can you share some of the organizations that you've been able to support and service, and the connections that you've gained, and what's the techniques and resources of, who you've been able to connect with?
I would say for me, a lot of it has been looking for ways to help strategically. So particularly when I was starting my business and trying to build my client base, one of the things that I did was I would connect with a lot of trade organizations and volunteer with them. And so I would work with, again, that's how I got connected with NABFEM, and working with the National Association of Black Female Executives in Music and Entertainment. Once I found out that they had a network in Atlanta, I offered to volunteer and work with them, and I served on their board for a few years. I also was connected with, I met the gentleman who was founding the Atlanta Black Chambers at the time that they were being founded, and also volunteered and helped them out as they were building and growing. I ended up getting connected to and volunteering with Hosea Feed the Hungry, and then ended up being hired as a contractor with them, and worked with them for, I think, about 2 or 3 years, something like that. And so that was kind of how I, particularly in the beginning of my business, started building my business. And then I also started working with, or trying to identify networking organizations and things like that, and kind of finding ways to meet who I needed to meet and then connect with this other thing. And so I think the person that introduced me to NABFEM also introduced me to the Atlanta Hip Hop Film Festival. And then when I was working the Atlanta Hip Hop Film Festival, I was just kind of talking with people. I met the guy that did International Soul Music Summit. And so I worked with them for a few years, and that would connect me to somebody else. And so I think it's kind of, one, being genuine. I also think when you're volunteering with an organization, people are seeing your work ethic. They're seeing your skills. They're seeing what you do, and then going, oh, I need that. And so I think for me, that was the thing. I've always felt like I am not the best when it comes to doing the job interview thing. I'm not the best at like tooting my own horn and saying, these are the results that I can provide to your organization. But by volunteering, I didn't have to say it. They could kind of see what I was doing and seeing the results of the work that I was doing, and then saying, hey, I need what you're doing. Can we have a chat and talk about you doing that same thing for me? And that's kind of how my business kind of grew.
So for some reason, this came to me: garnering valuable relationships through volunteerism. So that's pretty much what you've done your entire career, is seeing how the person you can serve win, improving how you are of value to them just by showing them through volunteerism. So I think that's impeccable.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very strategic. And I think that's how, long-lasting relationships are found. And so I think that's pretty amazing. What I think you forgot to share, though, with Biz Savvy Artist Academy, and the big win for this year, is what we were able to do for the first time in history. Do you want to share about the featured speaker?
So absolutely. So the featured speaker this year was a gentleman named Ray Daniels, who is a well-known industry executive who's worked with all of the who's who in the industry. He has a podcast called The God Show Podcast. And through a good friend of mine that I met working at one of those first jobs when I got out of college, his name is Dio Adabi. Shout out to him. He used to work at Sony, and we maintained our friendship over the last 20 years. He has been also assisting to support the Biz Savvy Artist initiative. And he pulled in Ray Daniels, who I think he also does some work with, to be the first he pulled Ray in to be a speaker at Biz Savvy Artist, and we ended up being the first event where he did a live broadcast of his The God Show podcast. So we were really excited about that. I think it was an amazing experience. Ray Daniels is a phenomenal music industry exec, entrepreneur, just an all-around great guy in general. So we were so happy to have him join us. And proud to have him choose us to be the first event where he did his podcast live.
Yes, and it was amazing, y'all. And I love Ray. Ray is just that firecracker, that authentic, come as you are, like what you see is what you get. Like he is just all real, and I love that about him. So I got 4 questions left, and I'm thinking the first one I'm gonna choose is, what does Juneteenth mean to you?
I get stumped every time y'all ask me this question. I think because there are so many things that come to mind with Juneteenth. I think the first thing, and I probably mentioned it one of the earlier times, is just the new beginnings and the hope that comes with having a fresh start and a new opportunity. I can only imagine what was going through the minds of the people when they're finding out, okay, we're finally free now. We're not slaves anymore. Now what? And so it's kind of this new start, this fresh start, and all of the opportunities that kind of come with starting something new. And I think that's one of the things that most resonates with me when I think about Juneteenth.
Yeah, I can't imagine. And like you said, having to now be in this space where you really are having to learn how to live without being in bondage. I just can't fathom it. So we're gonna shift and ask about your favorite hip hop artist in honor of the 50th anniversary of hip hop. So who's your favorite artist?
My goodness. I love hip hop in general. I'm kind of an old school hip hop head. I grew up with it. It's only 5 years older than me. So I have a hard time picking just one. I will say,
what's your memory? What's your first memory of hip hop?
The first memory of it that I can think of is probably being like 8 or 9 and buying a Fat Boys tape.
Awesome.
Yeah. And kind of just being enamored by the beatboxing and the rap, and I was like, he can do that with his mouth. Like that was like the coolest, the inventiveness of it, and the like, just how the whole culture developed. I was just like enamored by, oh, he can do that.
Yeah.
He could come up with these rhymes, and he could put these rhymes to this beat. Like it just opened up a whole new world for me. So I think that was probably the first cassette I bought that was like hip hop. I would say I probably like really loved around the 90s ish, when they were kind of expanding what they were doing with it, and there were different sounds, and then hip hop was having all of these different subgenres to it. I would say in terms of lyricists or MCs that I love, Nas would be one. Black Thought would be one. If you go back, like I love the LL, I love the Big Daddy Kane's, I loved Tribe Called Quest, I loved who else did I listen to a lot? I liked a lot of the kind of more eccentric artists that weren't always necessarily the big mainstream ones that everybody was listening to on the radio. I love like discovering that like diamond in the rough kind of artist where I'm like, oh, what they did is dope, or what they said is dope, or I love how they incorporated this sound into what they were doing, or yeah, so
The golden era, the golden
the
era.
golden era for real.
All right. So, what do you want the community to take away from today's session?
That the arts are a business. I think ultimately, a lot of adults get so stuck on the whole starving artist concept. And so a lot of them are steering their children away from pursuing artistic endeavors. And not to say that those individuals aren't out there, but I don't think that that's a reason to deter somebody from pursuing that, because there are people that they may not be making millions of dollars, but they've still found a way to make a living off of whatever they do creatively. They can pay their rent, or they can pay their mortgage and put food on the table. It's still a viable business. And so I think kind of getting away from the art as being just like a hobby, but kind of looking at it like it's a $1 billion industry. Like, why not pursue that?
Creativity breeds innovation. So these companies wouldn't be innovative or wouldn't be cutting edge if it wasn't for creatives. So I absolutely agree. I wanted you to also share any resources or tools that you want to recommend for a person that's either just getting started or is looking to sort of keep up with trends that's happening in the marketplace in the creative space. Do you have any tools or resources that you want to share? Or organizations that are national, local?
So I would definitely say it depends on the field, but I would definitely connect to the trade organizations that are in your field. So if you're a music artist, if you're connecting with your performance rights organizations, or NARIS, if you're in the video television, connecting with your local, I know in Georgia, there's like the Georgia Production Partnership, and there are trade publications like Deadline and Variety and Hollywood Reporter and things like that. So I would say look for those industry publications and organizations, trade organizations, to stay abreast of what's happening in your industry.
And final question, tell us what you got coming up or what you're working on now or next.
Next, we are working on the 2024 Biz Savvy Artist Academy. We're beginning to plan for next year's event, and also looking at some programming to put in place leading up to next year's event. So hopefully we'll be doing some online trainings, some one-off workshops or webinars, or maybe a couple of networking events and meet and greets leading up to our next big annual event in August.
Awesome. Well, I definitely can't wait. And I am a part of that planning committee. So I'm excited. So we want to thank you so much, Kim, for just taking a moment with us to share your knowledge and your expertise in being a creative entrepreneur and helping others to navigate that roadmap in pursuing their passions, and not just pursuing it as a hobby, but turning it into something that will be profitable for them, into a business. And so thank you again for extending your time and your space. And for those who haven't received the information, please visit Instagram and follow Kim and Biz Savvy Artist at Biz Savvy Artist. And if you want to reach out to her directly, you can also email her at info@bizsavvyartist.com. Till next time, everyone, please enjoy your day, and thank you for joining the Juneteenth NY Lunch and Learn session.
Greetings, and good afternoon, Juneteenth family. Welcome to another weekly edition of our Lunch and Learn.
E is exhaling, having an opportunity to breathe, to rest, to refill yourself and rejuvenate yourself, because no one can pour from an empty cup.
As you evolve and become more of yourself, you begin to attract the people that are there for you.
Amen.
So everything you need is in this space.
You have to learn from your mistakes. Once you make a mistake, sit down, recoup, and then start over. And once you do that, you say, I got that.
See, Juneteenth means to me, I would definitely say empowerment and education.
When I experience it, it's like just coming together and, being a part of something bigger than myself, And
A new start, starting a new chapter, opportunity, new beginnings, all of that.